winter's here, it's the time of year to celebrate the season. Family and friends, the joy never ends. Our connection is the reason. And the very best part is the love in our hearts. Be the light that shines in the dark.
Today's gratitude moment is all about Christmas. You know, I used to call this the holiday of glitter, because as soon as I opened and touched a Christmas ornament or box, there was glitter in my house, and it lasted about 2 months. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Christmas, but not just that day on the calendar, not Christmas Day, but the actual season of Christmas, the spirit of Christmas. Because I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but something has shifted the last couple of months. And I know that we still have all of those things that are going on around us and some of the chaos and some of the challenges and fears, but something very significant has shifted. And I just want to talk about that for a moment. Because the season of Christmas brings to us a memory, a reminder of love and kindness, of that very ability to be more giving and maybe more patient with one another. And it shows up in so many ways. I love looking out my living room window in the evenings and seeing all of the lights in the neighborhood. And whether they have been put in place with precision and this kind of orchestrated look to them, or whether they're just haphazardly thrown around a tree or over a railing, the light itself, the colors, the brilliance are beautiful, and they just somehow lift my spirits. And then we have all of the music that is very prominent for this time of year. And some days I can listen to it and some days I can't. But for the most part, there's some new music coming out, and it's very personal to each of us about what has happened this year and what is coming forth now in this season. And it touches our hearts and it brings us those memories. And I know for some of us, we don't want to remember because some of the memories we have bring sadness or sorrow. But the truth is, those memories awaken something within us and bring us to that place of lightheartedness and openness. And then you have the baking and the cooking and all of the things that have been going on since before Thanksgiving, and those recipes that many of us knew as children. And we only get to try them out once a year. And just the idea of that and sharing with one another. And the piece about that is so amazing is when we feed the body, when we nurture the body with something that sparks a memory and fills us, it also fills our souls. And it touches us and it's beautiful. And then we have humankind. And the changes and the shifts that are happening, because we've gone, in my opinion, from focusing on self and some fear around how am I going to stay safe and what's going to be okay for me, to that place of how can I give to others? How can I share? How can I ease the load or the burden for others? And those acts of kindness can be as simple as a smile or a greeting. It can be a gift of money or a gift just in general. And I have had so many people come to me this year already talking about how they want to give to someone who really needs something in their lives, who they can truly support. They want to make sure everyone is fed. They want to make sure everyone is clothed. And that act in and of itself is so beautiful. And it's so rich. And it's so rewarding. And what happens for me, I put up a few decorations in my home just to bring in some of that festiveness. And I love it. I love the extra color. I love the beauty of it. And I love that sense of anticipation. Because even though I'm not going to find presents under a Christmas tree on Christmas morning, that idea that I have something to look forward to, that something good is coming, that something better than what has been being experienced is coming forth, that's exciting. And I know this year the actual holiday will be so different for many of us. But if we take time to just be grateful for who we are, what we have, the fact that we are here, and the fact that we can connect with one another at some level, we can bring that openness into our lives. We can bring that beauty into our lives. We can bring that absolute joy into our lives. And so I give thanks. I give thanks for the season and the spirit and the holiday we call Christmas. Merry Christmas. Please pray with me. As we open our hearts and minds into this moment right here and right now, we do so knowing, recognizing and realizing that there is a power, that there is a presence that is here all the time, every moment of every day, with us, in us. It is the power of God. It is Spirit. And knowing that Spirit is present, we know that we are connected to this presence, to this divine being. We know that we are connected one to another. And how reassuring is that to know that we are never alone. There is always this energy, this being that accompanies us in all things. And I know that that's perfect. It feels good to know that we are supported, that we are guided, and that we are connected. And so what I know to be true right here and right now is that we move into this time with open hearts and open minds. We move into this time relaxing into this space for these few moments, letting go of everything else that has gone on today and any of the worries and concerns we have, and we just take the time to be aware now. And I call this time blessed, and I call it perfect, and I call it good. And so I just simply let it go, I let it be, and so it is. I remember Christmas when I was 10 years old. Our tree was up, and we got up one morning, and there was a present under the tree that had not been there the day before. And when I walked into the living room, I saw the tree, I saw the present, and I saw my mother sitting on the floor in front of the tree, staring at this present. And she looked over at me and she goes, "Do you know what this is?" And I'm looking at her like, "No." And she picked up this box. It was about the size of a shoebox, and it just said Ruth, her name on it. And my mother was like a little kid when it came to holidays and Christmas. And so she began to kind of gently shake it up alongside of her head, and she would kind of turn it a little bit, and you could hear this kind of swoop sound as whatever was in it slid and then hit the end of the box. And she would turn it the other way, and she looked at me again, and she said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "No, Mom, I don't." Every day, I would find her sitting in front of that tree, holding that box, holding that gift. And it was so interesting to watch her because she just kept getting more and more excited about what could it be. And none of us were going to tell her, even if we had known, so it was interesting to see how she kind of went through that whole process. And then just a few days before Christmas, her energy shifted, and she became skeptical. She became concerned that maybe it was a joke. And I remember her looking at my dad one day and saying, "It's a brick, isn't it? There's a brick in this box. If you wrapped up a brick for me for Christmas, when I open it up, I'm going to hit you with it." Now I got really excited because this is going to be pretty entertaining. Now my parents were not violent people, but my mom liked to talk a good talk. So I kept thinking, I can't wait till Christmas to see what happens. And Christmas morning came, and my brother and myself and my dad were all gathered around the tree, and Mom was right there in front of that present. And so we watched her open it. And she's jabbering away, it better not be this, and it better not be that, and oh my gosh, what is it? And she was excited, and yet she was kind of hesitant, and it was just so fun to watch her. And then she reached into the box and she pulled out this brand new brick. And I watched the emotions shift over her face as she went from anticipation to disappointment. And she sat back just kind of like, ah. And she looked at the tree, and there on the branch, directly in front of her, where she had sat every day for almost 2 weeks, on the branch hung a beautiful white gold watch. And it had an oval face on it, and it had little diamonds around it, and it was just hanging there, wasn't wrapped, on the branch. The evening my dad put the wrapped brick under the tree was the exact same time he put the watch on the branch. And every day for almost 2 weeks, my mom was so focused on this box, she never, ever saw the watch. Now there's a lesson here for all of us. What are you focusing on? Because isn't that what happens to us? We get so caught up in this one thing, and we complain because our good isn't showing up, or our prayers aren't being answered, or whatever it is that's going on. And then finally, we shift our focus. We look at a different angle, and we see the gift. We see the gift. I remember that story every single year. I just love it. It was a great experience. Our theme this month has been celebrating the divine truth. And when we talk about divine truth, it is the truth. It's not true for you and different for me. It is the truth. And one of the things we know about our being is that we are from Source. That is a divine truth for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter what views you have or what religion you have or where you grew up, it's the truth. And so that's what we've been looking at this entire month. And I have a quote here from Sri Aurobindo, and it says this: "The divine truth is greater than any religion or creed or scripture or idea or philosophy." That's a pretty interesting statement. It means that our truth is not impacted by conditions. Our truth is not impacted by religious beliefs or spiritual mindsets. It is not impacted by any of these things. It is simply the truth. And my talk title today is Cultivating Light. We are in the midst of the season of light. We call it this for a number of reasons. There are many references in the Bible that talk about light and the light of God and the light within, and that we are the light of the world, or that Jesus, the master teacher, was the light of the world. And so we have these insights about light. And when I was a child, we were taught a song about this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. We were taught that there was a light within each and every one of us. And so that's something to really look at and to pay attention to. Tomorrow is winter solstice. It is called the shortest day of the year because there are longer hours of darkness in the Western Hemisphere tomorrow than there are hours of light. And the cool, magical thing, at least in my opinion, that happens right after tomorrow is all of the days start to get longer, meaning that the sun shines more hours of the day going forward. And you can see it, you can sense it. I mean, one minute it's dark at 4:30, and then within a week it's lighter till 4:45. It's beautiful, and we're drawn to the light. We love the sunshine. We love the light and the warmth that it brings to us. So in that context of celebration of light, there's quite a few holidays, and I may have mentioned these before, but I just want to talk about them real quick. The Diwali Festival of Lights was on November 14th. Hanukkah began on December 10th and goes through the 18th, also known as a season of light, a holiday of light. Christmas, as we all know, is December 25th. Kwanzaa, celebration of life, is December 26th through January 1st. St. Lucia Day is December the 13th, also known as St. Lucy's Day. Each one of us has a light within us. Even though we can walk through the communities and look outside and we can see lights everywhere. We have this inner light. And so the question that comes to me is what happens to that? Because depending on our consciousness and our spiritual development, sometimes that light may kind of flicker. Sometimes that light may seem to dim. And then there are times when we are passionate about something or excited about something, and that light just shines brilliantly, and we look like radiant beings. And so what is the difference? When we express our authentic self, when we show up as who we are, without any concern about judgment and criticism, our lights shine brilliantly. We can get impacted by judgment. We kind of start to hide that light. We kind of shut it down a little bit. Holding grudges, anger, resentment, all of these things can impact us in that brilliant light within us. But what we also know is that when we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. And what happens is we all start to show up in this beautiful, authentic space, in this beautiful being of light. And so some things that can help us do this have to do with fun, playfulness. When did you play last? I think we've all been sitting in an armchair in the corner for quite a few months now, and it's time to have some fun and just enjoy life and laugh and allow that light to bubble up. When you live your soul's purpose, regardless of what that purpose is, your light shines brighter. And we don't have to go do something phenomenal that rattles the world and draws everyone's attention. Just being who we are, possibly a loving parent, a loving partner, a loving friend. That could be your life's purpose. And that, when you are living in that arena, when you are living in that space day after day, your light shines brighter. And then any time that we are of service, and we give to someone else, whether it's time or talent or conversation, that light begins to shine brighter. What we know about the divine light is that it can neutralize negative thought. Was there ever a more perfect time for us to come together and let our lights shine so that we can neutralize the negative energy that is going on around us? The light can heal the wounded heart. And the light shines brighter through forgiveness. Maya Angelou says this: "Let nothing dim the light that shines from within." So we look at people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa, Jesus, the master teacher. They had brilliant lights. And what they did with those lights, with those presence, those moments, that energy within them, is they allowed it to shine in moments of conflict, when there was anger or hatred or animosity being directed towards them, and they just allowed the light to shine. We can do this. We can do this, and we can make every day a little more brilliant than the day before. So before I close this message today, I have a little piece that I want to bring to you, because I know hearts are heavy right now. It has been an incredibly challenging year for many. There have been some very tough moments that we've gotten through. And then there are those of us who are looking at this holiday season and we're wondering, what do we have to celebrate? Because the loved ones that we want to celebrate aren't necessarily here with us. They have moved on. I have a book that was written by William Hornaday and Harlan Ware. And the name of the book is The Inner Light. And it's about Ernest Holmes. And it's a beautiful book with just all these amazing stories about his life. And the last chapter of the book is about his last hours and days on planet Earth. And one of the things that Ernest Holmes talked about all the time was this amazing process of life and the eternality of life and the immortality of the soul, and how we come into this expression and then we move from this expression into the next one, and there's no death, there's no end, there's just transition. And so what I thought was really interesting was they did a memorial service on his behalf on April the 11th, 1960. And they used one of his very own quotes for that service, which depicts the light within this man and how brilliantly he let it shine on the idea of death and dying. And because so many hearts are tender right now and so many of us are missing those that we loved so much, I just thought it would be good to share this with you this morning. Here's what Holmes says. When we came into this life, we were met by loving hands who cared for us until we were able to care for ourselves. Judging the future by the past and going from the known till the unknown, we can believe that when we enter the larger life, there will be loving hands to greet us and loving friends to care for us until we become accustomed to our new surroundings. I find this beautiful and inspiring, and I find it filled with light, because what it's telling us is that those family members, those friends that we've had to say goodbye to, most of them long before we were ready, did not leave here alone. There were loving hands to greet them and embrace them when they crossed that threshold into the next expression of life. So my message for you today is to not only let your light shine, but to remember this and to hold this in your heart as you move through this week where we have this holiday coming up called Christmas, and allow your heart to be lighter with this realization, with this truth. Please pray with me. And so we just breathe into this moment, to this space. And we know that everything that we need is right here, right now. We are cared for, we are taken care of. The universe is a giving universe, and everything we could possibly want or desire is here now. And as we recognize this and realize this, we recognize our connection to God, in God, and as God. We recognize our connection to one another. We recognize that we are truly connected, united, unified, as one humankind. And how reassuring that is, how blessed it is to know that we are never alone. And what we know also is that those loved ones who we have had to say goodbye to are blessed, and our lives are blessed because they were a part of them. And may we just breathe that in. Allow that to settle in our hearts. Allow that tender space to just open up with love and more love. And may we walk forth today and every day loving, kind, peaceful, joyful. Those beautiful expressions of the divine that we were created to be. I call this blessed. I call all people blessed. And may the gift of the season and the gift of loving and giving permeate all of our hearts and all of our minds as we turn our attention to that loving space we choose to live in. I know it's perfect and good. I know it is already done. It already exists in the mind of God. And how beautiful is that? I give thanks for all of this. I give thanks for the ability to speak these words. I give thanks for the ability to touch the hearts of so many people. And I give thanks for the amazing support we give one another. And so I just let this go. I let it go, I let it be. And I close by saying, and so it is.
Family and friends, the joy never ends. Our connection is the reason, and the very best part is the